Chris Fornace's deck, which I want to talk to you about. He has 12 creatures, 4 Deathrite Shaman, 4 Delver of Secrets. You'd expect those. But how about 3 copies of Death's Shadow?
Wow. Are we? Do we have some overgrown tombs up in here?
We have 1 overgrown tomb. Otherwise, you have 4 Gitaxian probes, 3 Thoughtseize, and here's a fun one, Sylvan Library.
Oh, wow.
Turn 1 Mother of Runes for McDarby. That's going to be pretty good against a lot of the spot removal that you see out of Sultai Delver. Fornace makes a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, though, so that's kind of his trump 1-drop as well.
That is it. The Death Shadow, man. I thought Greg Hatch had proprietary rights over that thing. I've seen some Gitaxian Probe, Watery Grave decks out of him.
Just play Watery Grave because, you know, it's better than Underground Sea in the right deck.
Yep.
Thoughtseize from Fornace, it'll take care of a Knight of the Reliquary in McDarby's hand, leaves some lands, does leave a sort of light and shadow, it looks like, along with a second Knight of the Reliquary.
The Mother of Runes online in conjunction, oh, wow. And going deep.
He took the Knight of the Reliquary because he planned on surgically extracting it. So now he's going to get the one out of McDarby's hand. He does it during McDarby's draw step in case McDarby happened to draw another Knight, which he did not.
I think we still may be on Christopher's main phase here, but he just doesn't want to get tricky here. He wants to make sure he gets that Knight out of David's hand.
And he'll get the one out of the graveyard and the one out of the hand. Surgical Extraction, not something you normally see boarded in against something like Maverick.
I was about to say, I think this combination of Mother of Runes plus Knight of the Reliquary with a Cavern of Souls on human is going to be all sorts of trouble for Christopher this game, but he's gotten out of the worst of it.
Yeah, a bold sideboard choice that really pays off for him. So he gets rid of all the Knight of the Reliquaries. With Mother of Runes, that's a card that he's pretty hard up on answers to.
And we are getting closer and closer to Death's Shadow being online.
Yeah, for the record, Death's Shadow, you have to be at 12 for it to even do anything. It's a 13-13 that gets -X for your life total. So if your life total is 13, it's dead. And once it gets below 13, it grows as you to get closer and closer to losing. Deathrite Shaman making a mana from Fornace, it'll cast Delver of Secrets.
Although David without his Knight of the Reliquaries now, but picked up a huge draw this turn with Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, was out of threats for the time being, but that will not be true. Here's Stoneforge Mystic. We saw sort of Light and Shadow already in McDarby's hand. The rest of his equipment package, he has sort of Fire Nice, Umezawa's Jite. And it looks like he's not playing Batterskull with it, which is something we sometimes see out of Maverick.
I kind of like getting away from Batterskull in the main deck of creature decks because it's so bad to draw. I would prefer just to have the Jite and a Sword, which are great to Stoneforge for in most spots, and also are pretty good if you draw them. Yeah,
in Maverick, the Batterskull's not good unless you have Stoneforge in play. It's a 4/4 lifelink for 5 is not a particularly strong card.
And Jite is also fine most of the time when you have Stoneforge Mystic in play. The same is true of sort of Fire Nice or sort of whatever.
Well, this is going to be a tough spot. Once again for Fornace, he dodged the first bullet, but it's going to be Umezawa's Jite plus Mother of Runes for McDarby.
Are you sure? Because all these hits, man, it's just further and further into Death Shadow territory.
Yeah, I guess you can't kill Death Shadow with Umezawa's Jite. Not if your opponent's almost dead, but then you can kill them with it. It's kind of this catch-22.
Yeah, a lot of angles, a lot of ins, a lot of outs.
All right, Fornace down to 13 off a Gitaxian Probe. Getting lower and lower. He sees just a boat full of equipment.
Oh, that's a breeding pool. He does have some of the Ravnica dual lands.
He has a Watery Grave, a breeding pool, and a Overgrown Tomb, all which he can fetch for.
That's two more.
He has one of each for all of the Sultai colors. So he's going to intentionally shock off the breeding pool here. I hope we see some Death Shadow. It's going to be a Deathrite Shaman at the very least. And
Force Will back up. That's one more.
Death Shadow. Oh wow. Just he's using that 2 Forcibles in his hand.
It's like an onion. You peel away the layers, and there's just more layers and more layers.
I mean, he's going to start taking some hits off Umezawa's Jite. That's going to be even more.
Death Shadow's definitely going to grow that.
Well, it's joined by another Death Shadow. quite the turn for Fornace. A ton of different cards casting there. Now we'll see if that's good enough to wrestle with the equipment that McDarby's about to put onto the table. I'm not certain, but
I have my doubts too. But in the meantime, I'm having a really good time.
yeah.
So
Pro Black seems real scary. So does GT. These are all things I'm not. But yeah. David, so the way to play against Death Shadow is it's best if you kill your opponent in one swoop. You don't want to put him to 10 and then to 6 and then to 2.
Right, you
really don't want to put him to 2.
You do not want to chip shot your Death Shadow opponent out.
Gotta put him to 10 and then to 0. So Umezawa's GT put into play on end step. David untaps, equips the GT onto Stoneforge Mystic. Now if Christopher, yeah, he'll block with a Death Shadow. He's gonna force that Mother Runes activation out of David. I like this play from Fornace.
I do too.
The 2 GT counters were gonna kill a Death Shadow anyway. Might as well. I guess he maybe would. The question is if he wants to go to 10, if that's better to be at 10, if he actively wants to take a damage.
Well, he gets to crack back for so much with these Death Shadows if David has, no blockers. It also opens up Christopher to drawing a removal spell for either the creature in play. Both of those are great. So I like taking a block there. It doesn't change very much from Christopher's side. It forces David to activate the Mother of Runes, frees up damage the next turn.
Now for McDarby, if you didn't get a chance to watch yesterday, he brought a pretty innovative teamer mid-range deck to the table. Started out actually 4-0 in the tournament before being dispatched by Glenn Jones. He does have a deck tech up on StarCityGames.com. You can find it in our coverage section for the standard portion of the tournament. Pretty interesting one you see again today. David starting out with an undefeated record.
That's another point of damage.
And this Christopher just punching himself over and over with these cards. Force of Will, this time on Sword of Fire and Ice. And a 10, that means the Death Shadows grow up to 3 3s. So this is a swing of 9. That's lethal unless McDarby kills something. He'll kill the Insectile Aberration, but he's going to take 6, 7. He takes 7. That's 2 damage off Thoughtseize. And Fornace, 2-0. He's going to move to 6-0-1 here with a little Death Shadow action. Those guys got real big, real quick.
This deck is freaking sweet. I really hope Christopher is in the top 8.
So I don't know if I've seen someone play Death Shadow in a fair deck. Normally you see, okay, I'm playing Ad Nauseam Death Shadow. I'm going to play him, and then I'm going to Ad Nauseam for a bunch of cards. I'm going to Goblin Bushwhacker him.
Or Hatred, or there's some cheat going on.
He's just playing it as, this is a pretty good black 1-drop. I like it in my aggro decks.
Gets to synergize alongside, Gitaxian Probe, Thoughtseize, Force of Will, fetch lands, Ravnica dual lands.
That's my favorite part.
There's a plethora of options to deal damage to yourself for value in Legacy. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go that extreme to be able to find synergies for it. I've never seen a deck like this before. Like I said, the honest Death Shadow deck is uncharted territory, but it was pretty sweet there. The Death Shadows definitely pulled their own weight for 1 mana, and Christopher able to incorporate it inside a Delver package with a lot of spells that deal damage to himself.
I mean, I love